Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Heather and today we are doing an in-depth bookshelf tour. Hopefully the audio sounds alright. I'm trying out for the first time my new mics, so hopefully it sounds alright. I've got several bookshelves throughout my house and I'm gonna be walking you through all of them, and so the camera's gonna be at different places and further or closer to me, so I figured I would just use the mic and hopefully that will make it so that the audio is consistent throughout the whole video. So fingers crossed that this works good. A few videos ago I did a bookshelf organization video. I will have that linked up above. And in that video I asked if you guys would want an in-depth bookshelf tour, and some of you said that you did. So here it is. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. It might be kind of lengthy by the time I walk you through every single one of my books. But we're just going to jump right in. I'll kind of walk you through what books I have, roughly how they're organized, and then I'll probably give you some thoughts on whether I like books or not. So we're going to start here on this shelf. This is my fantasy bookshelf. That's kind of one of the main genres that me and my husband read. We are both readers, so some of these books are mine and some of them are his. A lot of them we've both read. Some of them it's just one or the other. It just kind of depends. So we'll start on this shelf. What I'm probably going to do is bring the camera a little closer. Hopefully I can get it set up well and get a good shot here. So let me adjust the camera and then we'll start walking through all of the stuff on here. All right, this maybe isn't the best angle I've ever had in the world, but it'll work, and I'll film some B-roll afterwards, so we'll kind of cut back and forth. But top shelf is pretty much just my prettier books is kind of how I did this. So it's a little bit random, but starting over here, I have all of my J.R. Tolkien, I don't know how to say his name, Lord of the Rings books. So I actually have 2 copies of The Hobbit. I have one that's kind of hidden back here. That's just the mass market paperback. And then I also have the illustrated edition, which is beautiful. I love this book. My in-laws got it for me for my birthday. And then I have my set of the original trilogy. So those are all the ones I have of that. I definitely love those books. The Hobbit on a different league than the other books for me, but I do really love Lord of the Rings world, universe, stuff like that. Specifically The Hobbit is my favorite, but I do like the other ones too. I have a whole reading vlog of reading them. You can go look at it on my channel. I'm probably not going to link all the vlogs because I think it maxes me out like 5 links, so we're just going to mention those. And then next to that, I have my Children of Blood and Bone, the Legacy of Orisha, I think is what they call the whole series. I have the whole trilogy. I have read these recently. This will be a reading vlog that is coming out really soon. If you don't know, the 3rd book came out very recently. This one I actually have the sprayed stenciled edges. Is that what it's called when there's a design? Stenciled edges, which I think are really pretty. These books just in general are really beautiful, hence why they're on this top shelf of mine. Loved the first 2, 3rd one, little disappointing. Again, full reading vlog coming soon on those. The next 2 that I have are my Katrina Modad ones, and I haven't actually read either of these books yet. One of them is going to be in a hopefully soon, in like the next couple months, upcoming episode for my Around the World in Books series, and that is going to be for Southeast Asia. But these ones both I think are just really pretty covers. So those are the 2 books I have by her. And then the next set over is my Mirror Visitor series. This is by Christelle Dabos. I have read that whole series. I love it up until the last 20 pages of the final book. I didn't like how this ended. It's a very open-ended series, and I don't love open endings. So yeah, that's the Mirror Visitor series. Again, beautiful covers. And then it's kind of hard to see on camera, but right next to it, I have these 2 books, Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. I love this book so much. It's 5-star, great. And then Silver in the Wood, which is in a video coming up very soon as well. And then I just have my Pothos right here. So good spot for it. I keep cutting my face off. But let's move to the next shelf down. Okay, this shelf is about at a bit of an awkward height for me to try and get my face into it, so I'm just going to go ahead and just show you these, and I'll kind of point from behind the camera. But this is our full Brandon Sanderson shelf. There's more Brandon Sanderson books on the next shelf down, but this is the only one that is just fully Brando Sando. So starting over here on the left, we have Mistborn Era 1 and Era 2. We're missing book 1 in Era 2 because my dad currently has it. I have read all of Era 1, the original trilogy. My husband's read most of Era 2, except for book 4, which we obviously don't have. Next is Elantris. That one's just a standalone, but is in the Cosmere. And then we have Stormlight Archive. We've got 2 of them up here. I know they are mismatched. I don't think that they make the hardcover UK versions anymore in just like the single one bind up like that. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the matching set of all of those. So I think I'm going to have to just end up switching to all the paperbacks like that. So that's what's happening there. And then we have his graphic novel, White Sand. And then you move into the Year of Sanderson books, his 4 standalones that he came out with last year. Tress of the Emerald Sea, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, The Sunlit Man, and then there's also the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. That one I'm currently loaning out to my family as well, so that's why that one's not there, but it will go on this shelf when we get it back. And then next to that, I just have a few of the smaller ones. So we've got Warbreaker, Mistborn Secret History, that one's kind of a short story, and then The Rhythmatist are the 3 tiny books. And then over here in the corner, I don't have a ton of trinkets on my bookshelf on this one, but I think his name's Mervyn from Frugal Wizards, and I think this is the cutest thing. It is just off of Brandon Sanderson's Dragonstill Company website, but I think it is just the cutest little thing. I love this wizard. That is probably one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books, so I had to get this, and he obviously has to sit on that Brando Sando bookshelf. All right, we're back to a height where I can actually somewhat get in this. This shelf and the next one are the ones that you can really see in the background of most of my videos, so these probably look familiar, but starting on this side, I have the rest of my Brandon Sanderson. This is more of like the sci-fi books, which could technically go on my sci-fi shelf, but because it's Brandon Sanderson, I thought I'd just keep it all together. So over here we have Skyward. We have the first 3 books. These are the UK covers, which I think are far better. They're so much cooler. I've read like half of this book. My husband has read, I think, just the first book, but my sister-in-laws have read them, like them, all of that. So that's one that I definitely need to get to. And then we have Stillheart. We just have the first book of that one. And then Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. It looks like we've got book 1 and 2 right now. I think my younger brother has book 3. So we're trying to get him to read it. And then next on that shelf, this is probably really obvious. We obviously have Harry Potter. I've never read Harry Potter. My husband has. He loves it. I've seen the movies. So if that makes me a big fan, you know, whatever. At some point, I would need to read those, which will probably be in a reading vlog. I don't know. I'm trying to decide on that if I do a whole video of reading Harry Potter, because I've been doing a series of reading popular books that I never read. And so this would be a great episode for that, but there's so many books that I don't know if I want to fit that many books into a single video. So we'll see, undecided on that. And then the next thing I have right here is the Far World series. This is by J. Scott Savage. Is that his full name? Yeah. This is actually a Utah author. So the first book I have is actually signed. Let me just pull it out. Because when I was a kid, he came and did an assembly. This was like brand new. And he came and did an assembly at our elementary school and then did a book signing at the local library afterwards. So I got that book from his like book signing and assembly and got it signed, obviously. And then the other ones I've gotten since. But I've read this whole series. I really love it, even as an adult, even though it's more of a kid series, but I still think it's a really good series. Last one over here, I have The Strange the Dreamer duology by Laini Taylor. I have read both of those, and I do think they're really good. They're not like my top fantasy series ever, but I quite enjoy them. Okay, I might be too tall for this, but this one is where we start to enter just kind of random fantasy books. There's not a super big rhyme or reason to what's on this shelf. And I'm definitely missing a lot of books. So if you notice the gaping gap here, that's because I have more books that need to go on the shelf. Some of which are loaned out, some of which I just need to get the rest of the series, and I know I'm going to at some point, so I've kind of left some space. But starting over here where you can't really see is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I just recently read this. I'm reading the second book right now, and I'm loving them. More in-depth thoughts will be coming in a video soon with that one, but that's what's there. And then this one, Iconic Spine, Dance of Thieves. I've not read this. partially because I'm trying to decide if I go and read the trilogy that comes before it. I'm undecided on that. I know a lot of people just say you can just read the duology, but then after I bought this, I found out about the original trilogy and it sounds interesting. So let me know. Please advise, should I read the trilogy first or not? And then next to that, I have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I haven't read that yet. I found it at a thrift store and grabbed it because I've heard lots of good things. And then after that, I have all of my Leigh Bardugo books. I have the Shadow and Bone trilogy and then Six of Crows duology. So those are all right there. I've only read Shadow and Bone. I really liked it, but I feel like it's more fall vibes, and so I don't want to read the rest of the series right now in the summer. So I'll probably get back to that one once it cools down and the vibes are a little better. And then next to that, I have The Lights of Prague, which is one that I actually really love. This is by Nicole Jarvis. It is a perfect fall book if you want one that is vampires, but not like your typical weird YA vibe vampires. So, and then next to that, we have Lobezona by Romina Garber. And I have not read that one. It's one that my husband has read. And then next is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I have listened to that whole duology, and I do love the covers on these. The reason I don't have the second one yet is because I don't like the covers that have the little cutoff where you can like see the next page, and all of the new ones seem to have that. So I need to find a probably old version of it. Or maybe this is from like another country, I don't know. But I want to find the version of the second one that also has the cover that comes all the way over. So I'm waiting to get the next one of that. And then I have The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. Don't know much about this, found it at a thrift store. I'll probably save that one for fall, winter. It seems more like those vibes. And then I have City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I have not started into that whole world yet, but that's the book I'm going to start with. I'm hoping to get to that sometime this year. And then after that, right here, we've got the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I have read all 4 of the main books. I haven't read any of the novella ones. I loved the first book. The other ones were a little bit of a letdown for me, but you know, it is what it is. And then next to that, I've got 3 of the books from The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel series. The first book is The Alchemist, not to be confused with the like classic called The Alchemist, which we'll get to. I have that one somewhere else. But it's a middle grade YA fantasy series. I really enjoy it. Highly recommend. The other books that I don't have in this series are currently with my brother, who is slowly working his way through the series. So, and yes, it does drive me crazy that we have 2 in paperback and then the other one's in hardback. These are my husband's from when he was a kid, and he started reading them when the first couple were in paperback, and then he caught up to the point where they're just in hardback, and that's why we have them all in hardback. So at some point, I would really like to adjust and switch that up. Okay, and then for this last one, I'm gonna go back to just talking from behind the camera because that bottom shelf is an awkward angle to get to. But starting off over there on the left-hand side, I have the whole Chronicles of Narnia series. And I very specifically bought these secondhand because I wanted these old covers of them with like the more painting-esque versions of them. I feel like the new ones are kind of weird. So I specifically bought these secondhand. And then next to that is The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk. I have not read this book yet. I found it at a secondhand store. I just thought the cover was cool. I don't know any more information than that for you. So hopefully I'll get to that one at some point. And then next to that, I have the Illustrated Stories from the Greek Myths. It's an Usborne book. They have like a whole series of illustrated classic type books. And this one is one that I got from my grandma. And then next to that is Peter and the Starcatchers and Peter and the Secret of Rundoon. I have not read either of these. I also don't know. I'm pretty sure Peter and the Starcatchers is book 1. I don't know if the other one's book 2 or where it fits in the series, but my husband had Peter and the Starcatchers from when he was a kid. And so as I've been going to thrift stores, I've been kind of keeping my eye out and I've found the other one. So that's what's happening there. And then we have Janitors. Have not read that. That's another one from my husband's childhood collection. And next to that is Nick of Time, which is also one from my husband's childhood collection. So have not read that one. And then The Unicorn's Secret Collection next to that. This is one that I've had from when I was a kid. I think I got it at the book fair. So I have I do like that one. I haven't read that since I was a little kid. And same goes for Dragon Slippers. That was one that I got from a book fair. I do know for sure I got that one from a book fair. And I really like that one from what I can remember of it. Next to that, I have 3 of the How to Train Your Dragons books. I've got 1, 2, and 6. If you did not know, that is a book series. And I'm trying to collect them all secondhand, if I can find them. Next to that is the High Auction. I read this one for my Around the World in Books challenge. This was for one of my Asian authors, and it's alright. I have mixed feelings about that book. Next to that, we got Kingdom Keepers. We just have book 1. Again, one that my husband has from when he was a kid. I have read the whole series. Next to that is The Looking Glass Wars, just book 1. I have not read it. Again, found that one secondhand. Thought I might want to read it at some point, so I picked it up. Next to that is Theodosia and the Serpents of Chaos. That's book 1 in a series of middle grade fantasy books. I really loved that series as a kid, and I'm going to probably slowly collect those as well. Then we have book 1 and 3 of Fablehaven. I have not actually read Fablehaven from what I can remember, so at some point I should probably get around to that. It seems like a book I should have read as a kid. And then we have book 2 of Percy Jackson. We'd bought book 1 and gave it to my younger brother, and I think we bought this one to give to him too, and then just have never gotten around to that. So that's why we have book 2. And then the last thing on this shelf is The Dark Hills Divide, book 1 and 2. These are also books that I read as a kid, saw them at a secondhand store, and was like, I need to get these and reread them. So I'm still hunting down book 3, but that's what's on that shelf. The lighting is really hard over here because the window's right there, but this is my sci-fi shelf. Not a ton on here. First thing that I have is the Search for Wendla series. This is a middle grade sci-fi series, I guess, by Tony DiTerlizzi, same author as Spiderwick series. I love these books. Definitely planning on doing a reread at some point. We'll see when I get to that. Then I have all of the 4 Hunger Games books. These ones I read for a video a while ago. I like Hunger Games. It's alright. I will read the next books. Apparently there's more coming out, so I'll read them, but I'm not like obsessed with it. And then next to that, I've got 2 of the books from, I have no idea what the series is called. It's by Marie Lu, and it's the like Legend Champion. I don't remember the name of the other book. So I have Legend, and then I also have Rebel, which is the 4th book that kind of comes several years after the main trilogy. So I don't know if you knew that that existed. I didn't know for a while. I need to read that 4th book, but I haven't yet because I feel like I want to do a reread of the other ones before I dive into that, so that it's all fresh on my mind. And then I have Dune. I've got the first 3 books of the main series. I've read 1 and 2. Book 2 is really weird, so I haven't gotten around to book 3 yet. And then next to that, I've got Renegades by Marissa Myers. I've read the first book in the trilogy. I need to get the other 2 so I can read them. I did like it enough. I do want to continue the series. I just haven't done that yet. And then the last one I have up here, I hope I'm saying this right, is Scythe. My husband just barely read that. He's actually reading book 2 right now. I haven't gotten around to it yet. This is a recent purchase, so I will probably get into it at some point. I'm not planning on reading it anytime soon though. All right, this lighting's really rough. I might just put in B-roll on this part, but same shelf, still sci-fi. I have this little stack over here. I've got Jurassic Park. I have not read this, but my husband has. He said it was good. And then I've got the 3 Maze Runner books, the main trilogy. I like these all right. Again, there's a video on my channel of me reading them, so you can check that out if you want. Ready Player One, another one that I just found secondhand, thought I might want to read at some point, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I have seen the movie like a long time ago, but I would like to read the book at some point. And then under that, I have Silence of Stars by Holly Wood. This is an author that lived in my neighborhood growing up, and so this is one of her books. I love this book, but I will say the ending's a little bit of a cliffhanger. I think she's planning on writing another book, but hasn't gone around to it yet, so I have a hard time recommending it to people because there's not a second book, but I did really like that one. And then we've got 2 Blake Crouch books. One is Dark Matter, the other one's Recursion. I have read Dark Matter, I have not read Recursion. That's the sci-fi shelf, so we're gonna go over there and we're gonna start with my mystery thriller shelf. This shelf is in the hallway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hold the camera and I'll just walk you through it. because there's not a lot of room for me to stand in front of a tripod easily. So top shelf on here is my Orson Scott card book. So this whole shelf isn't necessarily all mysteries and thrillers. This was a little bit of an overflow from my sci-fi, but I've got the whole original Ender's Quartet. So Ender's Game, Speaker for the Dead, Xenocide, Children of the Mind. I have read all of those. I really like them. Ender's Game, I think, is just a normal, typical, nothing crazy sci-fi book, and then the other ones get much more philosophical, and some people really don't like that. I personally think it's really fun, so I enjoy that. And then I've got two of the books from the series that basically bridges in between Ender's Game and Speaker for the Dead. I need to find the first book. I've just been collecting all these secondhand, so I haven't found that one yet, but I'm hoping to get to it at some point so I can read that series because I am really interested in reading that one as well. And then next to that, I don't know hardly anything about this series, but it's the, I actually don't know, I think it says on it, the Homecoming series. Again by him, again, know nothing about it. I just found the whole series at a thrift store, and so I grabbed it because it looked interesting. And then on the shelf, I just have a little picture, and then this is technically an ornament, but I just leave it leaning up here as a little decoration piece. So that's that shelf. And then next shelf down is my Agatha Christie shelf. This is one of my favorite shelves of all of my bookcases. I love Agatha Christie, if you cannot tell. I have read all of these books except for Five Little Pigs. This one is my next one that I need to read. And I've also read listened to Secret of Chimneys, but I haven't bought the physical book of that yet. So just a quick rundown of which ones I have. Again, I've read all of them except for Five Little Pigs. We have And Then There Were None, Why Didn't They Ask Evans, Towards Zero, A Caribbean Mystery, Mousetrap, Crooked House, The Mysterious Affair as Styles, Murder on the Links, Poirot Investigates, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, Murder on the Orient Express, The ABC Murders, Death on the Nile, Hercule Poirot's Christmas, Five Little Pigs, After the Funeral, and Halloween Party. And then I just have this vase. This is from H&M Home forever ago. And then this shell is from when I went to Ghana in 2016. So that's what that shelf looks like. And then going down here, we're moving more into just my general collection of mysteries, thrillers, all of that good stuff. So starting over here, we have Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I have not read those. My husband has. I'm not in a rush to read them. I think I might get to them at some point. Then we have Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I have not read that one. I've listened to his whole series of Hawthorne and Horowitz, at least what's out so far, but I haven't read that one yet, so at some point. And then we have the whole Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown. That is all of these books. So you've got Angels and Demons, The Da Vinci Code, The Lost Symbol, Inferno, and Origin. I have read all 5 of those, and I love them all. Would highly recommend that series. And then I have one more Dan Brown book, which I have not read yet, and that's Deception Point. I believe that one's a standalone. I don't think it's a series, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then next to that, we've got The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. This one I read for my European authors video. I didn't love it. So if you want my full thoughts on why and everything, they're in that video. You can go check it out, but not my favorite book. And then we have The Red House Mystery. I actually bought this while I was in London. This is by A.A. Milne, the same guy who made the original Winnie the Pooh books. I thought it was really good. I read the whole thing on the plane ride back from London. I quite enjoyed it. It fits along the vibes of like an Agatha Christie, in my opinion. And then I've got A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is actually, I just barely finished this before the book that I'm reading right now, so very new to this. I really enjoyed it, and I need to get the other book. And then we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one is a adult thriller. I thought it was okay. It's nothing super special in my mind, but it's fine. And then I have a couple of books that I read for my Nordic Noir video. First one is Faceless Killers by Henny Mankell. This one is the first one in, what's it called? The Kurt Wallander series. I thought it was just okay. Again, in-depth thoughts in that video. And then The Bat by Drew Nesba. I think I'm saying that right now. Didn't love that one. And then we have another one. This one's more like middle grade. This is Chasing Vernier by Brett Hellquist. So I haven't read that one. Again, another secondhand find that looked interesting. And Then You Die by Michael Dibdin. This one I did pick up at a secondhand store because I thought the cover was really cool, and I still stand by that. I really like the cover. The book was just okay. I think it was supposed to be funny, but I just didn't get it. So that's that book. Then we have The Terminal List by Jack Carr. I haven't read that one. My husband has. Same with The Civil Action. Then we have The Hummingbird by Katie Heikapelto. This one is another one from my Nordic Noir video. I liked it all right. It wasn't my favorite, but it was decent. Then we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barrs. I loved the Inheritance Game by her. I've read that whole trilogy. We Were Liars, I have read. I thought it was good. It's nothing super special or memorable, but it's fine. And then the last one is The Couple Next Door, another secondhand find that I have not gotten around to reading yet. And then coming down to this next shelf, we've got some of my hardbacks and or newer purchases of mysteries and thrillers, just because I ran out of room on that shelf above. As you can tell, it was packed. First ones that I have are my Alec Michaelides books. I have all three: The Silent Patient, The Maidens, The Fury. It does bug me a little bit that I have two in hardback and one in paperback, but it's fine. I really like those books. They're definitely more adult books, so keep that in mind, but I quite enjoyed them. And then I have The Legacy by, oh boy, I don't know if I remember how to say her name. Yrsa Sigurðardóttir? Something like that. But this one was also from a Nordic Noir video, and I really enjoyed it. That was my favorite one from them. It is technically a trilogy, so at some point I might find the rest of them. I actually did like it enough for that. And then I have The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This is the same author as the 7.5 Deaths of Evil in Hardcastle, which I listened to. I would kind of like to get a copy of that at some point because I really enjoyed it. But I think this cover is really cool. It's very metallic and catches the light really well. So definitely need to pick that one up at some point, probably this fall. And then I have Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes. I just recently read this one. I think it's like a mid book for me. It was funny, it was fun, but it wasn't anything so good that I'm going to be going out of my way to recommend it. And Then There Were Four is another one that I have not read that I've got secondhand. Can't tell you much more about it than that. Theodore Boone is one of my husband's books. The Weston Game is this little tiny one right there. I got that one secondhand. It's okay. I don't strongly recommend it. This one was one of my most recent purchases. This is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I read Thornhedge, like I said earlier, and loved it. And so I want to read another one of hers. So I got that one. And then I have The Secret series by Pseudonymous Bosch. I always say it wrong. These are middle grade mystery books. They're super funny. I really enjoyed them. And then I just have a few decorations. Some of that secondhand. This I got from, I believe that one's one that I collected from my husband's grandparents. They had that one. It's an old film camera. I would love to get it working at some point, but I don't know if it does. And then last shelf on this whole case hosts a random assortment of books, starting with my 39 Clues books. I obviously have a lot of them. I love the 39 Clues. I think I only have a few books that I don't have, and then I'll have the complete everything 39 Clues, so I'm getting close. Tunnels, another one of my husband's kids' childhood books that I've not read. And then we have two Louis L'Amour books. I have read both of these, The Haunted Mesa and The Walking Drum. They're my two favorites. They're also his two least westerny ones. One is a thriller and one is more of a historical fiction. And then we have The Hay Meadow by Gary Paulson. I haven't read that one. That's one of my husband's. These next few are all actually ones that I haven't read that are from my husband's collection. The Long Way Home, or A Long Way from Chicago, The Teacher's Funeral, Al Capone Does My Shirts, and Al Capone Shines My Shoes. So, haven't read any of those, and I don't know if I necessarily will on those last few. They're not on my to-be-read list. And then I just have this diffuser that I got years ago from Target. All right, and then we're here at my last bookshelf. This one is downstairs, so hopefully the mic helps with the echoiness, because down here is quite a bit more echoey, because it has hard floors and upstairs has carpets, but I'm hoping the mic will mitigate some of that. But this shelf is more of my classics, historical fiction, non-fiction, some of it, those types of books. So again, I'm gonna walk through it sitting like this, and then I'll film some B-roll that I'll put in as well. So top shelf up here, we've got the majority of my classics. to walk you through them. Over here on the far side, we have Dr. Zhivago. I have read that one. It is the first book that I read this year, actually. And then next to that is The Robe. This is one of my favorite classics. I have read it several times now. I also have this really cool old edition of it, which I really like. I highly recommend it. This one's a historical fiction. I don't know if it's technically a classic, but I consider it a classic, so it's on the shelf. Next to that one is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I haven't read this one yet. I need to read it because I really like Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. And so I need to read another one of his books. So I think that's going to be the next one that I read. And then I have The Christmas Box, which I have read. We read that a lot at Christmas time when I was a kid. So I have that one now. Then Dracula, I haven't read that one, but it's on my list to get to this, probably October. Count of Monte Cristo, I have read. I did really enjoy that one. The next few I haven't read. My Antonia is one that my husband had. I don't know anything about it. I have not read it. Then Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. This one's a bind up of both of them. Frankenstein, haven't read any of those. Then Picture of Dorian Gray, I have read. That's in my European authors video. It's okay. I didn't love it. And then we have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I have not read that one. And then we have Common Sense and Other Writings by Thomas Paine. Have not read that one. That one's one that my husband had. And all of these are in the Barnes & Noble Classics editions. These are my favorite editions of classics. I'll just pull off a few of them. But where they have like the painting on the front and then it's just like a nice muted color, those are my favorite editions. And so anytime I see a classic in one of these editions, well, not anytime, but if I find one that I've been wanting to read in this edition, then I will purchase it. And then next that we have A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Like I said, I love this one. I've read it a couple times now. First time I read it was actually in middle school, which is probably not the age that most people are reading this book, but my dad recommended it to me and I read it and I like it. So that's how I feel about it. And then next to that, I have Master and Margarita. This one I have not read. I would love to, and I think that this edition of it is so cool. I love what they've done with this one. Next to that, we have The Chosen by Chaim Potok. I don't know how to say that. That one's another one of my husband's. I have not read it. Uncle Tom's Cabin, I have read. I got that edition from my grandparents, actually. It's a good one. Everyone should read it at some point. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, have read that one. That was actually one of the first gifts that my husband gave me when we were dating. I was super sick and he brought me a book. And so we hit it off, of course. And then The Scarlet Pimpernel, I've read that one a couple times. I do really enjoy that one. It's just a classic. And then we have The Outsiders. Neither of us have read that one. We actually bought it because we heard that the musical was getting a lot of Tony Awards. So we wanted to read the book in case we ever get a chance to go see the musical. And then Catcher in the Rye, I have not read. My husband has. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I am sure I'm saying that wrong, but we both have read that one. And then we have my Lois Lowry books, which I really love Lois Lowry. I have Nice and Tiny in here, Number the Stars, which I've read, I think a couple times, honestly. We read it, I remember reading it as a class in 5th grade, and then I'm sure I've read it again since then. And then I have the whole Giver quartet. I love those books. The Giver is up there in some of my favorite books. I didn't know that there were other books until recently, but once I found out, I quickly read them, and I really enjoyed them. And then next to that, we have Les Miserables. This one's obviously a brick, but I found this edition at Barnes & Noble, and I thought it was so cool, so I had to get it. Again, another book that I read in middle school, oddly enough, and I would love to reread that one soon. And then my edition of War and Peace, this one is one of my pride and joys because you can see I went through and fully annotated it. That video is up on my channel. I love this edition of it. There's a lot of editions of War and Peace, but I think this one's one of the better ones. Yeah, obviously read it. That's actually my second time reading it. I actually quite enjoy War and Peace, and the musical based on the book, phenomenal. Over here, I've got the Sideways stack. The sliding's getting a little long, but whatever. This one is partially nonfiction and partially just books that didn't fit on the bottom shelf, even though I would have liked to have put them there. But at the top, we have the things you can only see when you slow down. This one is basically just a bunch of little thoughts. It's good. I read it. Blink by Malcolm Gladwell and Talking to Strangers by the same author I have not read. Those are both ones that my husband has read. Five Dysfunctions of a Team is one that I had to read for college, and I thought it was a very interesting book, so I have hung on to it. The Road Back to You, that one's an Enneagram book. Kind of random, but my family's had a lot of fun with the Enneagram and talking through it with each other and seeing what everybody is. And then we have Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits. Tiny Habits I have read. I think it's a very useful book. Atomic Habits I have not read. My in-laws actually gave that one to my husband for his birthday like a year or so ago, and neither of us have gotten to it. And then underneath that, I have Lovely War. This one has gotten really popular all over lately, and I picked it up at a secondhand store, so that's why I now have that one. And then Palace Walk is a very recent buy. This one is going to be in a future Around the World in Books video, probably not anytime soon, but at some point that will be coming. All right, and then we're moving down to the bottom shelf. This is basically just everything else. So you'll notice there are a handful of classics that are intermingled down here, partially because of space, partially because I think they fit with this one better, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the camera off the tripod, move it a bit closer, and I'll just walk you through up nice and close. Okay, starting on the left side with this shelf, I have The Falcon Thief. This one is a nonfiction, I guess, true crime book about a famous falcon smuggler and the guy that caught him. And then we actually have two copies of Isabel Allende's The House of the Spirits. This one is in Spanish. My husband does speak Spanish, so he's, I think at some point would like to read it in Spanish. I started the English version, which I think is a beautiful book. I ended up DNFing it, but I've hung on to it, honestly, for no good reason. So mostly just because I think it's pretty. And then we have 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in Spanish. So another one of my husband's ones that he would like to read. And then we have Chronicle of a Death Foretold. This one's in English. I've read that one. I obviously haven't read the one in Spanish. A lot of these books are in this section right here are ones that I read for South American authors. So I gave Isabel Allende a try. I did Gabriel Garcia Marquez for that one. And then the next three are also for that one. So we have this one, which is, I'm forgetting the name. It's just Juan de la Rosa. This one is from Bolivia. It's about like the Bolivian independence movement. It's a historical fiction, really. I actually quite like that one. And then we have Pedro Paramo. This one is so confusing. It's magical realism. I don't know how I feel about it. Then we have The Promise by Silvina Ocampo. And this one I love the cover on, but it's almost more like a poetry book, so I didn't love it a ton. And then Jose Saramago, I've got Death with Interruptions, which I believe is called Death with Intervals, or something like that in some of the editions and in the original language. So I don't know why they switch it, but that's what that one is. I have read that one. I actually really enjoyed that one. And then we have Say Nothing and A Bright Shining Lie. Those are both nonfiction books that my husband has bought. This one is set in Northern Ireland. You can see the spine. And then this one is about the Pentagon Papers. So neither of us have read that one. It's obviously a huge one. It looks more like a textbook. It's very intriguing to me. I wrote a whole paper in college about the Pentagon Papers, comparing them to WikiLeaks. So I actually find that one a little bit intriguing, but I don't know if I'll get around to it anytime soon. Then we have Elephant Run. This is another one that me and my husband both read when we were kids that he had in his collection. The God of Small Things. Another one that I read for an Around the World in Books. I didn't love that book. The Rent Collector is one that my mother-in-law gave me for Christmas, I believe, and it's a very thought-provoking book. I don't know if I could say that I enjoyed it. So it's not like the funnest book in the world, but it's not like bad writing, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's a good book. The Gilded Dinosaur, this one I actually got from one of the Smithsonian's when I worked in DC for a summer. It's about two paleontologists. It is fascinating, but a very slow read. The Tattooist of Auschwitz kind of speaks for itself. I have read that one. That one's pretty good. The Kite Runner my husband loves. I DNF'd it. I don't love books with rape in them, so I quit reading it after that. The War Horse, I got that one at a book fair when I was a kid. Got quite a few of those apparently. Good book. The Poisonwood Bible, another one of my husband's. I've never read it. Shipbreaker, I read as a kid. The Teamsters, I have not read that one. It is a very much so a nonfiction book that I got from my grandpa when he was cleaning out his house. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it, but I have it, and it's a cool looking book. So A Separate Piece, don't know anything about that. That one's another one of my husband's, along with Walk Two Moons, skipping over a book. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, I have read. I read that last summer, and I really enjoyed it, actually. That one surprised me. Slavery by Another Name, I read for an English class in college. And very fascinating book. I would love to reread that one at some point. And then this next little section is my African authors section. So that's why Things Fall Apart. Obviously that one's a classic, but that one's down here with my African authors because I needed to bump something in order to fit everything. And so that got moved down here because I couldn't fit it up top. And it fit with all of my African authors. So I have When Rain Clouds Gather. This one I read in college. It will not come out. Deranged as I Am, I have not read yet. That's going to be in an upcoming video very soon. Homegoing, have not read that one yet either. Again, in a video. Not sure how soon, but it will be coming. Things Fall Apart, I have read. I think that one's decent. It's not my all-time favorite classic, but it is a good one. It's a classic for a reason. Oil on Water probably is my favorite African author I've read so far as what's in this little section. This one's set in Nigeria, and it is about a reporter who basically gets brought onto the case of the wife of an oil guy who gets kidnapped, and then he's basically trying to find her using his reporter skills. Really liked it. I did read that one for college as well, so that one was a good one. LMNOP is a very fun one if you don't know the concept. Basically, this book is set on the island where the guy grew up who created The Quick Brown Fox Jumps Over the Lazy Dog. And so they have this sign in the town that says that phrase, and then letters start falling off of it, and then it becomes outlawed to use those letters. And so throughout the book, it's like cutting out letters, and so the author doesn't use the letters either. It's a very fascinating book to read, would recommend. And then we have The Bronze Bow. This is another historical fiction. I really enjoy it. Margaret Atwood, The Blind Assassin. I did read this one for my Northern American authors video. I thought it was actually really good. I liked her writing. I'm scared of the content that's in a lot of her books. So I don't know if I'll be reading more of her books unless somebody can assure me that they have clean content. And then there was Light, another one of my husband's. I haven't read that. Night, I've obviously read. We read it in college. The Book Thief, I've read a few times. I love this one as a kid. So does my husband. Splendid in the Vial, one of his books. I have not read it. Don't know anything about it. Hijack, I started reading, DNF'd it. I've kept it. If you can tell, I have several books that are like black with bold white writing. And so I had them all in a stack at one point, and so I kept it for that, but I don't plan on reading it. 2-3 Mini Vietnams. If you can see, I've got a little bookmark in there. I've started reading it. This is a collection of essays, and I started reading it. It got boxed up, and then when we moved, I finally found it again, so I should probably finish it at some point. Magellan, this is in biography about, obviously, Magellan. Very fascinating. It took me so long to get through it, but I finished it. I did read it. It was fascinating. Very slow. My Early Life by Winston Churchill, or is it by Winston? Yeah, it's gotta be by Winston Churchill. This one's another one of my husband's. Haven't read it. The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama was a gift that I got from my mom. I have not gotten around to it yet. Probably should at some point. Pontius Pilate, very fascinating combination between biography and historical fiction. I actually quite enjoyed that book. That's by Paul L. Meyer. John Adams, Alexander Hamilton, those are both my husband's books. He likes biographies a little bit more than I do. So those are his. I have not read them. First They Killed My Father, I did read for a video. I thought that was a very fascinating, well-written book. Good to Great, last one. I have not read it. So I don't know if I'm ever going to. That's another one that I'm hanging on to purely for decorative purposes. All right, and that is the end of this video. That's my full bookshelf tour, all the books that I own at the current moment. I'm constantly collecting more books, so as of right now, that's the updated version. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked getting a look. If there's any books that I haven't read that you love and you could convince me to read, please leave a comment down below. I would love to have more suggestions. I'm constantly looking for new books, so go ahead and leave them down below if you have any recommendations. I do have a few books that weren't included in this that either we're reading right now. There's probably some that I've borrowed out to people that I've missed. Like for right now, I just remembered my dad is currently reading Babel, so I do have that book. Did read that. I liked Babel a lot. So yeah, there's always books that I'm missing. I'm constantly loaning them out to people. So if I'm missing something that you think I've read, that's where it is. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it wasn't so insanely long, and hopefully the audio was somewhat decent. Hopefully the mic worked out. Let me know if you like the mic, if I should keep trying to use it or not. I think that's everything I have to say. I also have a few books that are more like my Christian books. Those are all in the office in a spot that is so hard to get to that it didn't feel worth it to film. So I do have some of those, but without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video because it has been definitely long enough. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.